in DaVinci Resolve 20, you can upload a script, and DaVinci Resolve 20 will take that script and look for clips, not only clips that are sounding exactly the same as what you've written down, but also things that sound similar, which means that if you have a script and you stuck with the script most of the recording you did, and then you upload the script and you tell DaVinci Resolve 20 to make an edit based on the script, it will not only find the clips where you say the things that are in the script. If you recorded them several times, like several different takes, that will then, it looks like, stack those clips so that you can go through them and choose the best one. Because maybe you looked weird in the one that sounded the best, but maybe you look better or something works better in another clip, and then you can choose that. And that's only the beginning, because if you do this, you can then basically rearrange things after you've recorded in a way based on your script, meaning that you can do what you couldn't do in 19, which is you can do a transcription of your final edit or final cut, like the first draft, first cut. You can then take that and then transcribe that and then go and use that document to rearrange the clips and then upload that document as the IntelliScript, and then DaVinci Resolve will then go back to the original clips and then take the parts and insert them in the timeline in the order that you have specified in your new script. You see what's happening there? So you can basically re-edit the sequence of clips by re-editing the script. And this also opens up for those of us who are, well, not organized enough to do proper scripts, kind of like I'm doing now, which is really not organized. So you can sit down, you can talk about the subject. Now, if you at some point then remember something, and then you want to add that, then you can, of course, record that sequence and then keep talking about whatever you were talking about. And then, as your recording is done, you can then transcribe that to a document, sit down with that document and rearrange the paragraphs, sentences, sections. And as long as you at least keep sentences and move those around, those clips should then be rearranged in the edit on the timeline. So much simpler and faster. Boy. So that was the first one. The second one, much shorter, but animated subtitles based on Fusion templates. This is a big one. There are plugins that does this in DaVinci Resolve 19 right now. But now we get it as a native feature, and it works with Fusion templates. And you will then do a subtitle track. You then add the Fusion template clip, as far as I could see. And as long as the Fusion template clip has some feature for highlighting words, for example, you can then track that so that you will get the animated subtitles with word emphasis, with boxes or colored bricks or with squares or whatever you put on there. Kind of small, but kind of big, especially if you're doing a lot of reels, and that kind of stuff. This is a really, really nice thing to have built into the software. DaVinci Resolve 20. If this works like it was shown in the video, this is going to be a huge time saver as well. And speaking of reels and shorts and that kind of stuff, I was actually having a different one for point number 3, but somewhere, where did I put that note? Yes, vertical screen, point number 6. Let's do that as 3. Vertical screen. So the whole layout of the software now changes if you're editing vertical orientation, not vertical screen, vertical orientation videos, basically reels and shorts and that kind of stuff. So the interface reorganizes itself to maximize the space, the workspace, so that you have all your much larger bin for your clips and all that kind of stuff, and the video just pops over to the right side of the screen. So the space utilization for doing shorts and other vertical oriented videos is much better. So back to what was 3, which is now, I don't know, 4. Yeah, so this is 4. Let me just do that. 4. Yeah, 4. I'm recording. Using a second phone, a really old one. to monitor this. I'm doing a separate video on it. Make sure you subscribe to don't miss out on that one. But using this to control that and see what I'm doing, having a monitor, perfect, great stuff. So 3 is now 4. Point 4, music track extender, shortening, whatever. Yes, it's finally in DaVinci Resolve 20. You can do either by specifying the length you want for a clip and it'll extend it, or you can do a live extend push-pull type thing where you can just extend it or contract it. That's the right word, yeah. And it also shows you visually where the edit points or where it has done stuff to the audio, and it also makes different versions of the extension or contraction. So that you can go in and review those different versions and choose the one that you feel works the best. So yeah, it also, there's a feature now so that on the music track you can now show beats, meaning you have the beats 2, 3, 4 visually shown so that you can go in and do the fine tuning of your video clips to the beat if you want to. What I'm lacking in this feature are the bars or bars beats. It's either bars or, yeah, but what's it called? Subdivision, yes, subdivision. So if you have each main beat, like a 4/4, you have 1, 2, 2, 3 to 4. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, yeah, you know, the subdivisions. If you want to do like off-beat editing so that you're either off the main beat or syncopated, I think that's the word, so you can have more edits that are not just on the beat, but also on the upbeat. You know, so by having a subdivision on that beat track, hopefully they'll do that in a later version. But for now, just having that beat thing helps a lot, and then you can just visually do offbeat editing if you need to, or upbeat editing. But yeah, I mean, it's a small thing, it's a tiny thing. But me as both a DJ and all the other stuff I do, great feature, perfect. This is at least one step in the right direction. So yeah, so now 4 is 5. So 5, feature 5, the AI audio assistant. It makes a mix for you. It basically takes your whole video, audio tracks, dialogue, voiceover, whatever, audio effects, sound effects, and makes a mix for you. It goes through a process of using the dialogue enhancer and some other plugins, and it creates what they're saying is a professional sounding mix. I haven't heard it. I just heard the example in the video. If this works even remotely close to what they're saying, it is a great way to not have to go through all the different tracks and do all these adjustments, and then going back and redoing them, and then going like that whole setup process. Running through this process and doing the whole audio assistant thing and getting the initial mix with focus on dialogue down, and then going in and fine-tuning it is such a time saver. And this will be useful for pros, I guess, as well as amateurs like me, advanced amateurs. I don't know what you're going to call it. But not having to just go through and manually do these, lower this, do that, blah, 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 blah. Such a time saver. Oh, yeah. And this is not the next point. This is just a bonus thing. But the voice convert tool, which allows you to swap a voice with another voice, which is AI generated. However, you can record and create a profile based on your own voice. And this is the important part, because there's no point in me making a video and then replacing my voice with somebody else's. That's just going to sound weird unless it's James Earl Jones. But you would probably notice that it's not me talking. But the real useful thing here is if you recorded audio in a very noisy place, so there's a lot of noise, maybe it's just a short clip, something that sort of breaks the immersion, doesn't really work with that one clip or those 2 or 3 clips. By using an AI voice based on your own voice, and then replacing the audio for the clip that has a lot of noise, background noise or outdoor noise, traffic noises, you can then replace that with your own AI generated voice of yourself. This is maybe not for everybody, but for those of us who might be looking into sort of improving our stuff a little bit and just making things sound a little nicer, it's a cool feature, and it shows a lot of promise, especially of things to come when it comes to cleaning up, especially if you can mix like your real audio with some of the AI audio to create a more powerful voice in the mix and subduing those background noises. A lot of promise for the future. Now, the actual 0.5, which is now 6, I'm losing track here. The dialogue matcher. If you're recording, again, if you're a solo creator, but for like I do, sometimes I record here, sometimes I record outdoors, but in different parts of the room here. Maybe I'm recording down in the basement and there is a lot of reverb somewhere, and then there's not a lot of reverb in this room because there's so much crap here. The dialogue matcher, what it does is it takes one clip and listens to the sort of the sound of the room. That's one use case at least. And then you can match that sound of the room with another clip, so that if you're recording in the room with a little bit of reverb and it has like this ambiance of some kind, you can then take another clip where it's a super dry voiceover, for example, or you're speaking in a very controlled environment, and add and match so that those two clips sound much more alike. What it does, it kind of breaks, or it doesn't break. It makes that clip not break the immersion. So it makes it sound like they're more in the same space, like this sort of sound space of the video. So if you use this feature on clips recorded different places, you will then be able to match them more closely, so it doesn't sound as jarring when you move from one location to another location. So this could be really useful as well. One thing that I haven't been using that much, but which I know is going to be pretty useful, is the Keyframe palette, Keyframe palette, which basically just collects all the keyframes in your timeline in this palette, where you can go in and then adjust everything in terms of curves for animations or fades or whatever, which is very practical. You can also open this panel underneath your timeline so that you can see it in, you can see all the keyframes in relation to your timeline, as well as it being a separate palette, which you can then go into and do things. I haven't used that much keyframes the last year, but I know based on other software I've been using, like 3D software and stuff, that having that sort of keyframe palette is very useful, having everything in one place instead of having to jump from clip to clip and setting and doing everything like separately based on clips. Having it in one place, very, very good. That was not a separate point actually for some reason. But yeah, so 6 is now 7. No, this is 3. That's the vertical screen thing. We did that there. So 7 is, yeah, now we're at the correct. Finally, 0.7 feature that's going to be super useful for me, at least, because I do some client work where we're working with some text layers, introducing speakers from talks. And you now finally have a multitext tool. Basically, Photoshop inside DaVinci Resolve, as in layers. We have layers, a text tool, a multi-text tool that has layers. Meaning, if you put a lower third, where you have the name and the title of the person talking, or maybe the name of the talk, so you have their name and the title of their talk, instead of having this as sort of a title, subtitle type thing, you now have layers. So if you have 3 or 4 lines of information, you would then have 3 layers, and you can animate each of them separately, just as regular text box thingies. Meaning it's much more easy to create those sort of animated lower thirds, upper thirds, middle thirds, separate lines of text, individual design and fonts and colors and animations and all of that stuff. And that's a separate node or effect now. So by using the multitext tool, which is in addition to the text and the text plus tool, and as a part of that feature, they now have, so I have to look here because there's what was the also? Yeah. So you can now assign each text box or text thingy as a point, a text box, a circle, and a path. The important bit here is that the point is just like, here's your text, and you control it and move it around, blah, blah, blah. If you put it in a box, as a text box, if you size the text box down, the words or the sentence will then rearrange into several more lines. So you can expand it, and it goes from several lines to fewer lines, or contract it and going down. And this is very useful for sort of dynamic stuff where you have a different length of texts and controlling everything. And also you have a simple tool for doing text in a circle, again, logos, whatever. And of course, path, which is a custom curve path, whatever, which you can then, based on, if you get a design file, you can convert it to a path and then have text go along it. I'm not big on using all of that stuff, but having the point and the text box and switching and using those two and having those as separate settings for each layer, for example, is super useful. And these, the text box and the circle and the point is also available in the text and the text plus plugin or node or effect. That's the right thing. Yeah. So some really useful features there as well. And then we have point number 8, which is something that my OCD-ish brain sometimes, when you have clips and you want to organize, like when you have just a list of clips and the order is not the right one. Let's say you have a small folder with some B-roll, some other stuff, and you just want to put them in like your order, instead of having to like rename every clip and then sort alphabetically and then either numbering them to get them in the right order. You can now just free form or free shape or, well, basically custom sorting. So in your media library, you can now do custom sorting and you can align it to a grid so it looks nice. And then you can just click and drag clips in the order you want. And then, as an added bonus, you can then insert those clips in that order on the timeline. So you can sort of clean everything up and make sure that, okay, this is the order I want them. I want this other clip in here. And then just dump it to the timeline, insert it wherever. It's not a big feature, but it's something that I've been doing other things to accomplish. And now I don't have to, which is great. This is why we need updates. Point 9, Voiceover palette. Voiceover palette. Basically a voiceover feature on the cut page and also on the edit page. Two slightly different implementations. But on the cut page, you can now, on playback, press record and record voiceover, which is super helpful, and it will also save time when making videos. You can do it to a separate specific voiceover track, or you can basically target any audio track for the voiceover recording. And as you play through, you can then record, re-record, and do all of that in the cut page. So for me, working with the speed editor, meaning I can do even more in the cut page before I even have to think about going into the edit page to do, for example, some special B-roll or animated stuff, which I don't do much of, but I'm going to. So the more I can do in the cut page, the better. Because then that means I'm just in that zone of doing the first cut, the first draft, going through, trimming, fixing. Then I can now add a voiceover as well. And then I can go into the edit page to do the final editing, moving some stuff around, inserting some clips where I need to, that kind of stuff. Having that voiceover feature in the cut page, great. Having it also available in the edit page, even better. It's slightly different because the two cut page, edit page behaves slightly differently. But the fact that the feature is there for both cut and edit, amazing. If you want to do it extra, like, oh, I put some extra video in here, I need to do a small explainer for that. Hit the record button, make sure your mic is, well, connected, and just do that a little bit. Done with it. Move on. It's great. And not only do you get the voiceover feature, but You can upload a teleprompter script and have the script on the screen over your video while you record your voiceover. So you can basically do the voiceover with your script on top of the footage that you already edited when you're doing voiceover work for, let's say I do an explainer or how-to video where I mostly just do something. I can now sit down and just do the whole thing and film that, edit that together into a cohesive sequence. Then I can go in and do the whole voiceover thing with my script. And I can even, when I'm doing it, talk. And this is where it gets interesting. Remember that first feature, the IntelliScript? If I'm doing a tutorial on how to do something physical, like building something or cutting something, I can do that while talking to the camera, right? Now, I can record that and have that transcribed and exported as a text file. I can then go through that and refine it, rewrite it, and make it into like the perfect voiceover script. But I'm not going to insert it and make it do the edit for me. But now I can use that based on all the stuff I was saying and maybe some stuff I added later on. Then I can upload that to the what's it called? Prompter script. I can then upload my new script, my voiceover script, to the prompter and do the voiceover in the cut or edit page with the prompter on top, based on what I was talking about when I was recording the video, but then cleaned up and organized and made a little better. Amazing. And then, yeah. So the whole voiceover thing makes everything so much simpler, especially for, again, smaller solo, one person, one man band or one woman bands. People doing this all by themselves. All of these features are so helpful, and we're not even at number 10, because this was number 9. And of course, you can, when you do the voiceover thing, you also have direct access to dialogue leveler and the voice cleanup thing. And so you can do stuff with that voiceover as it is recorded and just get things done. This 10th is maybe not for us, or for us solo creators, it can be important if we do solo creation work, but for others. For example, podcasts. I know several of you do podcasts, filming podcasts for others. Now, if you have a multicam setup, and this is like insanely helpful when it comes to editing stuff. You do a podcast for somebody, there's 2 or 3 people. Now, no matter if they're linked or hooked up with separate microphones, or you just have one microphone in the room, there are 2 ways of doing this. You can either have a multicam smart switching setup, and that's the feature, the AI multicam smart switcher. So what happens is you take your multicam clips, you of course sync them up so that they're all synced, and then the AI multicam smart switcher can, based on who's speaking, cut to the person speaking for you, doing the rough cut, the rough first edit, going person speaking. I don't know if it at some point then cuts out. I have to look into it. But just having that and then manually going in and doing sort of a wide shot of both or all participants, it will cut down editing time a lot, rather than having to manually go in and insert person here, insert person there. Super helpful. But the really, really cool part is, and this is the same feature. I haven't mentioned that yet. Right. No, we're getting to that. Different thing. We're getting to that. So when filming a podcast, if you just have one track, the AI will figure out who is speaking, as in speaker 1, speaker 2, maybe speaker 3. And based on that and lip movement in the image, it will then cut to the right clip of the person talking. So even though you have several clips of people talking, but just one audio clip of the whole conversation, it can then look through or listen through that whole audio clip and identify who the different speakers are. And by combining these things with the video tracks, it will then be able to smart switch between the actual person talking based on their lip movements. So they see that someone is talking in the audio, Someone is moving their lips in the video, then we cut to that video. Someone else is identified as talking, their lips are moving, it cuts to that. If this is like even close to working like they described, and that small demonstration they had, for those doing this as a panel debate, for example, like if they, I don't think that's a part of this feature right now, but if you can do let's say a 4K, I actually talked to this with Guile. Oh man, I'm fucking up your name. Sorry. About how to sort of film a full podcast with just one camera and just cutting in to the people speaking, cutting back to the wide shot. If at some point this feature is expanded on, it should be able to, if you set like, this is my video. This is my selection in this video, selection number 1. This is my selection number 2, and this is my selection number 3, the wide shot, right? And then based on identifying who's speaking and whose lips are moving, you can, if you can then tell the AI to crop in on that person and crop in on that person, and then at whatever interval you set, maybe after 4, or let's say you can say randomly after 4 to 6 cuts between the people, you go to a wide shot, right? See what's happening here? If they expand this feature to do that, you can basically have one mic, one camera, film like the room, and have the AI multicam smart switcher do the editing of that one clip by cropping in on the speaker based on your crop, like you select the crop, and it switches to that crop whenever they're speaking. This could be super, super, super powerful and super time-saving. Oh, yeah. So it is slightly more advanced. Like, this is a slightly more advanced feature. Not for everybody, especially not people doing just talking heads like I'm doing, but for people who are working in the field and doing like those podcasts or people on stage, stuff like that, having this feature, woo. So yeah, I mean, and again, these are just the highlights that I found really useful for me as a solo creator, and probably for a lot of other solo creators that are either thinking about switching to Resolve or have just switched or are just trying to figure out what to use. And some of these features, again, are studio features. I don't know exactly now when, but the price for that studio, like if you're making any money at all, or if you value your time and you have a little extra cash to spend, buying a license to get the studio version, or buying the speed editor, or maybe even forking out for the editing keyboard, which might be a better choice for some, especially if you spend a lot of time in the edit page. Like, these features in terms of saving time are insane if they work as advertised. And Blackmagic tend to deliver on their promise for these like features in general. They usually don't play. They make it happen. There's some other like, yeah, those were the 10. Like my 10 main features I really, really like in this DaVinci Resolve 20 edition version. But there are some other bonus stuff as well. In the color page, for those who know or use that, there's a lot of updates to the tracker and the AI tracker features, and it's basically better at masking things out. A lot of stuff going on there. They barely touched upon it in the video, just showing a couple of examples of it, just like really quickly and effectively, like finding things and tracking things and masking things out. There's an audio feature for removing silence. So if you're in a slightly noisy, like there's a like small hiss in the room or fan or stuff like that, you can set it to auto delete all silence in between speaking parts with, you can set a certain amount of time before it kicks in and fade it and all other stuff. There's also very useful, and this plays into the multicam switcher part, because a checkerboard to new track feature, which might not say much, but imagine having an audio track. Imagine having one speaker being really loud and another speaker being kind of low in volume, right? So this feature will take an audio track and then split it into a checkerboard, meaning it's separate audio tracks for each speaker so that you can treat those speakers separately in terms of compression, EQ, volume, effects, dialogue, all of that stuff. So that's a cool feature, and that could save you some time if you have multiple people speaking in your recordings. Another useful recording for audio is the chain effect plugin. Now, the chain effects is basically the ability to take several effects, let's say EQ, compression, dialogue, leveler, or something, and put those into a chain, which means that you put them in an order. You gather them and put them in a specific order, how you want the audio to be treated, and you save that as a chain effect. As a chain of effects, right? So whenever you do, especially like I do here, I have one mic, I sit at the same distance every time. And since I'm doing that, I have a setup of compressor, like I do like EQ, compression, some voice stuff, and maybe a little reverb, room reverb. I can put all of those in just one chain effect, and then put that chain into the track. So it's basically sort of a power preset that you can easily apply to tracks. Especially for me, that's going to be kind of helpful. Saves me a couple of minutes of just fiddling about, adding stuff and choosing presets and stuff like that, when I can add everything into just one item and plug that into the audio track of me talking. The last one I have here is something they just touched upon briefly, set extension. In DaVinci Resolve 20, you can take an image, select part of it, and say that you want to generate, their example was a Victorian lamp, and then they had this image of a guy standing in front of a wood, trees. It's getting late. Trees in the background. Guy in the front, select this part with a guy and say you want a Victorian lamp here, and then it just generates and inserts that. There was the set extension happening inside the software. That's cool, but it was mentioned in one short sentence that this would be a cloud feature, meaning you probably have to buy into the Blackmagic cloud, which costs extra to get this feature, because I'm guessing the processing happens on their servers, with probably licenses to whatever AI they're using for image generation and all that kind of stuff. Probably a lot of licensing going on, and they're probably going to then charge people to use this feature because it's not happening on your computer. It happens elsewhere. Updates on that? I don't know. It's an insanely cool feature. I don't know if I would need it in the videos I do now. If I were working professionally, it could be useful, but then I would make enough money working professionally to pay for that. But for me as a solo creator, not really. I don't know if I even need the feature. Don't know if I'm going to pay for it. Just have to see what the price is and, all that. But it's coming, it's possible, but it might be sort of an extra feature that you have to pay extra for. If you think that paying extra for that type of feature is too much, then you're probably not making enough or anything on the videos you do. And then that feature basically isn't for you. You have to use something else. Another small note, at the end, something was said that the beta for the regular DaVinci Resolve 20, like the free version, is available now. You can download it, test it out, everything, see what's there, see what's not there. The studio version beta is also available for free. Of course, after the beta period, you can't use it anymore, or at least you can't update it anymore. So we won't get the final version, which means you will have a buggy beta DaVinci Resolve 20. He said, the presenter, which of course I forgot his name. It's not Gary. No, anyway. They said something about charging for the upgrade. I'm not sure what he was talking about there, because right now I paid for the studio version, and what they've said is that the studio version will be free for the foreseeable future. He mentioned something about charging for an update to the studio version. I don't know if this is going to be a huge thing. If it was just a way to measure reaction, if anybody notices. But if they start charging for studio updates for major versions, I mean, I understand it from a business perspective. They have said that for the foreseeable future, the studio version upgrades will be free. But if they keep piling on features like the set extension and some other stuff, maybe there will be a paid update and a free update to the studio version that you originally paid for. I don't know. But to conclude, I have no more notes. This was a way too long video. These were the 10 features that I feel are some of the most important, time-saving, efficient, useful features for smaller creators like myself, solo creators, people running small businesses, doing video work for customers, clients. There's so much more. You really, really should go over to the Blackmagic channel and watch the presentation. It starts at 2 hours and 14 minutes. Approximately. That's where the DaVinci Resolve 20 feature walkthrough starts. It's a pre-recorded video going through a bunch. I mean, I think there were like 30 or 40 at least features that they just went through during 23 minutes of that pre-recorded sequence. They didn't do a live demonstration basically because they needed to save time. If they were to do that thing live, it would have taken a couple of hours just for DaVinci Resolve. So everything was just mashed together in this barrage of new features, functions, improvements, upgrades. So much stuff. Go over there, watch that now, and I'll see you in the next one. And also, remember, I'm waiting for the final release of DaVinci Resolve 20 before I'm doing my DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor tutorial. Because right now, with the new features, there are at least 3 or 4 things I want into that one, getting started with the speed editor. I've been planning on making that video for almost a year, since I got the speed editor approximately a year ago. But looking at what's coming now in 20, celebrating DaVinci Resolve 20 and the release of that somewhere in the future, with a proper DaVinci Resolve speed editor and cut page tutorial, seems like the right thing to do. So that video is coming once the DaVinci Resolve 20 Studio version is released. I will make that video and basically take you through everything related to the speed editor and the cut page and how to work on it, and when you should maybe consider getting the editing keyboard instead of the speed editor, because there are some use cases for people who have needs, who have a need for features that are available through the editing keyboard, which is a lot more expensive. But based on the feedback I've gotten on the previous speed editor videos, there seems to be a lot of people that think they want the speed editor because it's really small and handy and easy to bring somewhere. But the features they need to do their job is actually what you get when you have the full keyboard with the addition of the wheel and the special keys and all that kind of stuff. All of that will be taken care of in the speed editor video. That's coming. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, this is so good. Oof.